button. Push the button. It has been an age and then some, a fortnight, if you will. And we are back with the Inside Star Citizen review. Last week, we watched what was a interesting change of direction, if you will, a Cloud Imperium admittance that they, in fact, need to focus on actual content and not just features and new, and let's take your money kind of like feelings that have been going around with a lot of the Star Citizen content creators out there that have been saying, let's be fair, that there's no progress and, oh, we're not getting anywhere, which is, we know that is fake news. We know that there has been progress, but we know that it has been buggy. But also, if you're watching this channel, you also know that we are adults here, and we knew that 4.0 preview was going to be buggy, and we knew why they released it ahead of time, because they wanted people to see Pyro and to get excited about it. However, it turned into kind of like a large wet fart, and you know, people were ending up having worse experiences than what they intended. Yes, Pepe, thank you for the fart noise. Thank you for the fart. I wasn't looking for the fart noise there. Okay, but people get it. And so I said, yes, now that they're coming back to the office, expect a lot of these bugs to get cleared up. We're still having issues, of course, but them coming on Star Citizen Live with Benoit Bessager was really refreshing to me. Now, you can watch that. That's on our YouTube channel. I like the change of direction. I like the focus on the fact that they're looking for what, everybody? The word that I have been saying for 2.5 years, stability, aka stability. That is what we have been asking for over 2.5 years, because we believe that a better play experience will bring in more numbers, keep more people rooted, asses in seats, and possibly, just possibly, more ship sales. All right, which means better revenue. So if they can bring in that stability, then that would be a much welcomed addition to our gameplay experience. Yes? Yes. Now, first inside Star Citizen back of the new year, let's see if we get the details that we are looking for a little bit more. We know that there's a change of direction. We know that Benoit seems to be whipping asses at Cloud Imperium. He seems to be the leader that we need. It seems like there's been a kind of exchange in leadership where they said, okay, here's the reins, Benoit, run with this horse, take direction. Good. Now let's see if we can add a little spice, some details, if you will, on this Inside Star Citizen review to give us more clarity. That would be appreciated. Come on, Jared. Do not drop the ball on this episode.
If you watched last week's 3-hour special edition of Star Citizen Live, you heard a lot about the evolution of this year's patches, how often they're going to come out, and how our shows are changing to reflect that.
And I told people the roadmap was a double-edged sword, that the roadmap, people just got too juiced up on La Coca for the next little thing, the next little feature, and the next little thing. And it was like a Chris Roberts sales mentality, you know, and that worked for the beginning partial of this journey. But now we need the meat with the potatoes. Now we need the meat with the potatoes. Let's go.
And if you didn't, well, I'm not really going to recap all that here. But this week, we sat down with some of the non-feature folk to talk about the content-driven side of this new initiative.
Good. Let's see. This is important. Do not drop the ball. I believe that the focus will be Pyro. I believe that the focus will be gameplay mechanics, like all mechanics that are player driven. Pyro is a playground for MMO style gameplay. I think that is underscored by myself and others who are hardcore PvP kind of enthusiasts and MMO enthusiasts. I think that is a aspect to MMOs that is forgotten about by many, many content creators. By the way, this is how MMOs become most successful, when people focus on player-driven mechanics, and generally speaking, does not need a lot of design or time put in by Cloud Imperium devs, because they just need to create the playground for us, and they need to create captivating areas inside that playground so that dynamically things happen. So, okay, let's see. Focus on Pyro, focus on player mechanics, go.
Where did this idea of a content-driven push come from?
Well, as we sort of alluded to in the 1.0 presentation at CitizenCon, there's been a desire to get more emphasis on starting to build the storylines and the characters of Star Citizen Universe and getting them actually in game.
Lore.
The way the content patches are going to break down are, we're ultimately trying to provide new content to you each month. Alongside all of this, we're going to be essentially providing new missions, new events, kind of a lot of what we've done before.
I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe they're doing it to test the boundaries of server meshing, but I don't necessarily think that's the correct direction to go. But okay, let's focus on just like basic fucking missions from your Moby, and that they work, and that they're playable, and that they don't break down, or that there's nothing in the way. Just like basic. Can we just focus on like basic missions? These PvE events, these dynamic PvE events, man, they usually end up being a cluster.
Oh, but taking it up to the next level.
This was an opportunity to start figuring out ways to engage the players in a growing and expanding storyline.
We're going to be sending you all the way around the verse, doing lots of different varied types of gameplay. You'll still be doing events that are...
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about, exactly what Dark Spike is saying in the chat. I totally dropped interest in doing this Save Pyro event thing after the first mission, because every time I tried, it just would not work. I love the idea and really hope they can get it figured out. And this is what happens on the dynamic PvE events. And this is the discussion that I've been having with THUR here, a member of our community on the channel, and they're very good discussions. Really great discussions about, do we honestly need at this point in time PvE dynamic events when there is no stability? If they want to focus on stability, and they're going to keep focusing on this narrative of bringing in these PvE events that are clusterfucks that never really work as intended, is this actually the direction that they want to go? Is this the content route that they are that they want to go down? Because to me, that seems busted right out the gate. But let's, maybe they need these events to test server tech. That could be it. But that's not going to do anything good in terms of promotion for the game if we continue to have these PvE dynamic events and we all have really bad experiences. That doesn't make any sense to me, but let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Prevalent to a story that we're going to be working on as well.
What's up, Nathan?
I got you covered!
As well as new missions that build up the existing roster that we actually have in game already. There will be some content that is only there for a limited amount of time, but ultimately a lot of this content is still going to persist when we hit to Star Citizen 1.0. So we're actually building out the larger content map that exists in the game. On top of that, there's going to be a huge focus now on stability and quality of life too, because we want a stable environment for our developers to work in, but we also want a stable game that's less.
So they're going to take the short-term pain for the long-term gain is how that's how I'm interpreting this. They're going to take that short-term pain by pushing this PvE dynamics narrative to push server tech where they need it to go so that they can find server-related issues, which in the short term is going to piss people off because it won't bring stability. It won't bring the things that people want. However, in the long term, it'll work on the back end of things. So this is a very tricky thing that they're doing right now.
Less buggy, less crashes, and much more pleasant for you guys to play day to day.
Yeah, but that's long term. Like what they're not telling you is all of the experiences are still going to probably be shitty, and there's still going to be a cluster. And people are going to get frustrated because they're promising stability, but they're not explaining correctly that we are pushing this because we want to find server tech related issues, and you all will probably have bad experiences until after the fact when we've identified these problems and fixed them. So they are walking on a very dangerous tightrope here if they do not explain this properly.
What's the word? Today's been rough.
As far as the structure for how we're going to tell the story, one of the things that we were kind of excited to try for it was actually utilizing a storytelling structure that's usually used in TV shows. Basically, there's usually an A story and a B story that happen within a single episode. If you're Seinfeld, you have a C story as well because they're just that good. But there's the A story is sort of your primary story, your B story is sort of a supplemental ancillary story that sometimes can feed into it, but sometimes can be standalone. And it's just a way to kind of keep the scenes dynamic and kind of make them feel alive. So what we're trying to do is actually utilize kind of a similar thing, but stretched out over a longer period of time. And the idea being that, A, it makes the universe feel bigger. So there's not just one thing happening that's consuming the entire universe. But also, if you're not interested in the A story, if for whatever reason it's not engaging you, you have something else that you can kind of do. So the idea is that hopefully that one of the two stories, hopefully both, but if not, one of the two stories will be fun and exciting and kind of offer a new insight to the Star Citizen universe.
They can add as many of these events as they want, but if they end up being just as much as a cluster as what we have all experienced, then they will have more problems on their hands. I'm just telling you right now. Now, if they add more missions into your Moby that actually function and work correctly, then it'll be more of a success if that's what they're talking about. But if we're talking large scale PvE type of events like Save Stanton, etc., they've got another thing coming, because that might just be like a really bad thing to do in terms of their public image if people are having bad experiences. I'm not quite sure how
Currently, the plan is actually that the A story, we've already started it, and is actually going to be going through September. And then the B story is a little bit smaller, but it starts basically in April and goes on. So it's a multi-month thing. So it goes on until about October. Once this A story and B story kind of resolve themselves, we have a new A story that starts up and a new B story. So we sort of bounce back and forth. So some months we'll have more B story than A story. Some other months we'll have more A story than B story. But it gives us a way to kind of, again, pull in a lot of different facets of the universe, and whether it's gameplay, mission types, ships, and not have to figure out one overarching narrative that somehow encapsulates everything.
This doesn't replace that big storyline that we talked about at CitizenCon.
No. This doesn't replace that, the 1.0 story, but it is actually kind of offering an exciting opportunity to kind of lay the groundwork for that type of storytelling.
Yeah, I want them to focus on core mechanics that don't work. And last week, what we had talked about were tram stations, elevators, just basic shit that we want to work properly, that depend upon coding correctly or scrapping out and putting it back in, which is difficult to do, or finding the original coder that did the work on such things that now they have to go find the person because he doesn't work at Cloud Imperium anymore, and they have to subcontract the work out and find the original person that did the code work. That's another issue that we talked about last week, right? Just basic quality of life fixes. What we're doing now is, it doesn't seem like large dynamic PvE events. It sounds like they're kind of segregating events into smaller piecemeal missions that kind of fit together in an overall arching narrative. Okay. So they're kind of splitting it up so that not everybody's coming in at the same time for some large PvE dynamic event. Okay, good explanation by Dave here. Dave's been with this project for a long time. He's very level-headed. I like this dude. All right, very competent mofo here. It's an interesting approach, but like, again, I think people are looking towards last week's Star Citizen Live saying, where's the beef at on this episode? Where are the fixes on quality of life fixes, that the basic shit, not falling through the floor, like physics grid issues, and are not falling through your hangar floor, and not getting yeeted out of your ship, or, you know, again, all server tech based physics grid issues, problems that I've been bitching about for ages. That's stability. We're talking about missions here as content. We want the meat with the potatoes. You understand? This is the potatoes. To me, this is the potatoes. Thanks, Wooksy.
In the game.
To be fair, Coob is right. Coob says they were working on these ISC episodes like 4+ weeks ago. So, right. So that is good point, Coob. God damn it, Coob is on the ball. So let's keep that in mind. Coob. Let's keep that in mind. So what we're talking about in present day, hopefully we'll start seeing in March. I mean, so what Coob is saying essentially is these types of issues that we're talking about now probably won't be mentioned until like mid to end March, just because of the way that they record the Inside Star Citizens. Good point, Coob.
Save Stanton is an event that spans over a few months, and it is all about a gang that has invaded Stanton. And it's not one of the usual ones either. It's not one of the usual suspects.
So this started in 324, where we made this narrative journey that players will go on.
The big story beat was that there was a new outlaw pack sort of showed up in Stanton's system and was wreaking havoc. They were known as the Slicers, and were launching basically devastating attacks against the local population.
Targeting cargo ships.
No, that's completely fair. Aether says right on, Coob. You've already had the meat, DG. Now what you want is double meat, and that's just greedies. Aether, listen, I want as much information as they can divulge promptly and delivered to me as much as possible. And of course, they are as transparent as any developer has ever been in the history of game development. And you're right, I am being greedy right now. And that's just because I'm really passionate about this game. Oh my goodness, look who's coming in here. Citizen Spooner with 65 rating. Vikings coming in like a boss. Let's hear it for him. Like a boss.
Yes, you're not gonna eat me.
Thank you, Spooner. I hope you had a great stream, bro. Thank you for the awesome raid, man. I hope you had a good stream. Hello, everybody from Spooner's stream. We're watching the Inside Star Citizen review. Let's keep going. Oh, by the way, for everybody new here and everybody old here, we are having a giveaway. Just click the link down below. 295 Star Citizen package. It's a good one. It's brought to us by Stunner. He's an awesome dude. Thank you so much, Stunner, with 5 sub gifts. Look at this. We got some hype up in here now.
Yes, you're not gonna eat me.
We got some hype up in this room. Yes, I like it.
Stealing cargo, targeting different locations around Stanton, such as UGFs and outposts, inhabiting them, and also going around stealing sensitive data that the CDF do not want them to have.
The CDF had got all of the players to come and help. After the players sort of stopped them from doing that, the Slicers had showed their power and showed what they was really about and brought in an Idris that players had to try and reclaim off of them.
The viciousness of the attacks and the sort of unprovoked aspect of it is just sort of highlighting effectively what the problem is with Pyro, is that you have this sort of lawless haven for outlaws right next door to Stanton, and basically they have the freedom to kind of come and attack when they want to.
So these people just lived in a hole and decided to come to another place and make it a hole?
Some people just love chaos.
I like her.
With 401, the player will find themselves in Pyro, ready to defend it or attack it. Depending on which one you have chosen, you'll be locked into that faction. So you can choose the Citizens for Prosperity, the Headhunters, or the Frontier Fighters. If you're
Peace out,
working for
Spooner.
the
Thank you,
citizens
bro.
of Prosperity, you're doing more aid work.
That's awesome, Spooner. What a nice dude.
You're there to help people. You're not really doing much combat work. They're trying to make sure everyone survives this by passing out food, water, medical supplies.
They're basically like, we believe that there's good in this system. There are certainly bad elements, but you're just going to exacerbate the problem by trying to solve it with violence.
And the headhunters.
As far as I'm concerned, the lore and the storyline in Pyro is fantastic. You can't ask for a better storyline and lore being packed into Pyro. It beats the shit out of Stanton, if you ask me. You know, Stanton, you got your Corpo kind of vibes. It's refreshing. We have a new system. I love it. I also love that it's lawless because I'm more of an MMO PvP kind of flavor dude. Like they're hitting it where it counts in terms of the lore. But again, talking about Star Citizen Live last week and everything that was spoken in terms of stability, that's a number one for me right now. And we're probably not going to get any more on that because, you know, that was kind of a very impromptu Star Citizen Live that happened last week. They realized the majority of the voice of people who were saying, hey, man, let's get some meat with the potatoes here. Let's focus on core mechanics, quality of life things. And they came to terms with it. Benoit came on, talked about server-related issues, talked about kind of a reconstruction of the teams, the dev teams inside of Cloud Imperium. All very constructive, all very refreshing. No, we're not going to get the follow-up because, as Cube had mentioned, this was recorded about 4 weeks ago. So we'll start to get more spice. We'll start to get more news on this coming up probably mid to end March. And, you know, we all want more of a stable experience, for God's sake. They need to actually, they need to tighten the reins here, and they need to actually get this ship on the right course in terms of stability. Stability has been an issue for a long time. Server tech in the crosshairs right now.
Are an old-time gang who've lived there for a long time. They know the land, they know the rules, and they're unhappy that these rules are being crossed.
Headhunters would want you in their group because
Peace
they
out,
kick
Drew.
ass and they're
Thanks for
fun
chilling
to
with
hang
us.
out with.
So they're on the offensive.
What's
They're
up,
here and they're
Sanders?
going, you're not attacking our home. They're basically going to be just trying to kill the Frontier Fighters. And the Frontier Fighters want everybody dead. They're going nuclear Earth. You will be killing civilians. You will be killing headhunters. You'll be killing Xenothreat. They don't care who. If you are in Pyro and you're not them, you're dead.
Yeah.
What's up the Frontier Fighters' ass?
A lot of explosives.
Perfect for someone like the Dark Claw. I don't know what that says about him.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Frontier Fighters is basically justice for Stanton.
They just want to live life in Stanton without being interrupted every 5 seconds. They want to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Are you being honest about the Frontier Fighters right now?
No.
The vibe of Pyro is very cool.
The Citizens for Prosperity have seemingly found something out, but they're not telling you as an operative exactly what. They are sending you to defend their data runners, and they're trying to get them out of Pyro, and they're asking you to go on the offensive now and attack the Frontier Fighters. Which isn't usual for the CFP. They're trying to be more of a peaceful group in this operation, but now they're not. And the Frontier Fighters are aware of this data that the CFP have. They have reported that they think it's to do with their attack plan on Pyro. So they're asking their operatives to take out the data runners that the CFP are trying to get out.
I'll cover you.
And also destroy any CFP-controlled servers to make sure that the data is gone and lost for good.
And the Headhunters?
Headhunters, again, carrying on their violent approach of sustaining their locations, reclaiming their locations. Where Frontier Fighters might have set up, they will go back in and explode every material that they had so they can get their outpost back.
This is a variation of what we were talking about with asteroid bases, where we wanted to capture the flag kind of situation scenario. What they're doing here is they're actually setting up Pyro to be a capture the flag base PvE mission scenario, capture the flag dynamic player event. It's kind of what they're doing is they're taking our idea of like making an asteroid base ownable, right? Like a star base, like we were talking about at CitizenCon, but now they're kind of expanding it out a little bit broader base to the entire system and putting it in your MOBI as PvE type events. It's an interesting play on capture the flag.
At the end of all this, you'll learn things.
You might learn a few things about the intentions of each of those factions. You might learn something more about yourself and what moral choices you decided to make and ways that us as designers got to clear. At the end of this chapter, this leaves us with the truth of what was really happening and sets the stage for something more to come. The story doesn't end here.
I'll keep them occupied.
The way that this story ultimately is intending to play out, there are actually going to be real ramifications based on the group community choices that are made. So that will actually change the direction of the universe.
This totally reminds me of community events in Elite Dangerous, where you had people joining factions and then the work that they did overall kind of reached towards the end goal of the faction. And then after the amount of people had gotten to the point where you hit a number of actions that a faction won. This is very much reminds me of Elite Dangerous' community goal type community events. Anybody out there are old commanders of Elite Dangerous that remember going out and doing these community goals? You guys, this is very much kind of like an iteration or a variation of that. Very much feels like that.
Either go one way or can go the other way. So we're actually going to be playing around a lot with ways that players can decide how they want the universe to change. So moving forward, there's going to be a bit of a twist that comes down the road, which is going to escalate basically the situation into one of our first big events. With this, it basically allows us to plan out a bit more and actually, again, start to build a growing narrative.
Giving players more of a reason to engage and be able to talk to each other and like, hey, where did you get that item from? Oh, well, I was here when this happened, and I was here when this happened. Definable points in our universe's history. It adds to the universe, it adds to the story of it all, and it means that you as a player help build this world out.
So I'm really excited about the changes coming in. It's going to allow us to get more fun content in your hands more often. And it's going to provide a much more stable environment for us to work in, but also for you to play in as well.
Up until this point, we've actually been honing in on gameplay mechanics and more kind of under the hood stuff. We have a lot of data pads in the game to kind of do the heavy lifting for storytelling now. This is allowing us to kind of push on those other facets as a way to kind of be higher impact storytelling techniques.
So with a patch almost every month this year, building the narratives of the Stanton and Pyro systems with new content less reliant on big feature work, and packed between as many bug fixes.
It's like Cube is saying right now. He says, all I know is I can't even land and get a few boxes to a free elevator in Pyro without getting murdered. And I don't think that's fun, says Cube. Yeah, I mean, I'd almost say in Pyro, you're going to need like a small squad with you. You sign up for these faction type events, these community goal type events that they're planning on. Just bring some people in Pyro, because if you're doing this solo, unless you're out in the bush and you got a sniper on you, going in hot, you're probably going to get iced real fast if you're solo. Especially when they start bringing in more of these kind of community goal missions, it's going to be chaotic. And you know, for most people, you know how long it takes you to get ready. You go in and you're going solo in Pyro and you land at this to try and get involved in these, and then you get hit right away, man. It's a big bummer. It's a big bummer to a lot of people, man. So, I would say just basically, if you're in Pyro, make sure you got some friends with you. I think that's the way that I would handle the situation. Unless you want to go explore on your own and solo it and kind of ninja it, you know, if you are solo in Pyro, you just kind of make sure you're a shadow, man. You kind of make sure you're not sticking out like a sore thumb if you're going solo in Pyro. And honestly, that's the way it should be. Pyro's lawless, and that's the fun. You know, and if that's not your game style, if that's not the way you're playing things, I would probably stick to Stanton. And if you ever want to go to Pyro, bring some friends. That's kind of the way I see everything evolving with the verse. As more and more systems come online, which they will, people are going to get excited, and each system's going to have its own kind of flavor to it. Each system's going to have its own security flavor. You're just going to have to get aware of, like, and I expected Pyro to be this way from the very get-go. I really did. So that would be my advice.
And refinements as we can manage, we aim to deliver a progressive series of improvements in storytelling that will change life in the verse for the better throughout 2025. Oh, and last month, we launched a new bi-monthly Squadron 42 newsletter with exclusive video content, ringtones, wallpapers, and even merch. If you missed it, you can go to the Squadron 42 or account settings sections of the RSI website to opt in and not miss out on the next exclusive offerings. Or don't. I don't get any commission or anything. I just thought the stickers were neat. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with a look at Alpha 402, Supply or Die.
2 weeks? 2 weeks? Wait a second. We gotta wait a whole nother. They're not gonna have an Inside Star Citizen next week? What's going on here? Oh, man, oh, man. Well, it just means they're busy, so that's a good thing. I would say this. We have been following this project for nearly, 10 years now. What's up, noob? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you here, buddy. And I have to say, last week's Star Citizen Live was refreshing. They admitted, hey, we need to actually change gears here, and we need to focus on the actual content. Was this episode a bit of a letdown for me? Yes, but as Cube stated, they were working on this 4 weeks ago. They recorded this, and this was most likely prior to the kind of SCL stream that they had last week, where they just said, hey, we're going to start focusing on stability. Now, let's see them do it, right? Let's see some progress towards the stability, and let's report on that in 2025. That's what's going to keep asses in seats. That's what's going to be word of mouth best promotion for them. That's what's going to be a revenue boost in ship sales if they can bring the stability, if they can do it. The fact that they're changing gears and they made a stream focusing on it last week was a step in the right direction. It was positive. Now, let's see the efficiency, let's see the effectiveness, and let's see if they can do it. Right? All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you're on YouTube, definitely like and share this. Join us on Star Citizen After Dark. We are having a giveaway, by the way. I will put that in the description. And we on live here, Star Citizen After Dark, Thursday, every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have Star Citizen After Dark here on Twitch. And we watch some Star Citizen content here, and we have a good time and hang out and comment on it. So join us here if you're on YouTube. Get over to our Twitch station. We have a lot more fun over here.